In today's episode of the Longevity Wellness Podcast, I sit down with a real estate tycoon. And you're probably wondering, why would a real estate owner or founder be on a longevity podcast? Well, let me explain. Sam McDadi, the founder of McDadi Real Estate, is hands down one of the biggest biohackers in Canada that I know of. And this man is not coming from a medical background. This is an enthusiast, a leader, a trailblazer in the entrepreneurial space and also the space of philanthropy. He is a very generous giver of his time and finances and resources to many charitable organizations in Toronto. And we've discussed all things health and wellness and purpose. And we discussed how a leader in your own life, whether you're an entrepreneur or you've got your own business or you are in school or you're in med school or you're maybe in real estate, maybe you've got a team. This discussion goes deep into the psychological components of human betterment and performance. And then Sam McDadi discusses how and what he uses in his life in terms of biohacking strategies, nutritional strategies, gizmos, devices, therapies, all to enhance his own physiological body as well as his psychology and how he can continue to perform at the best of his level. This man is very, very bright, came from humble beginnings, and I know that you're going to be inspired in this episode. Conventional medicine will tell you to avoid salt. I'm going to tell you differently. As long as you're hydrated, you want to consume lots of salt. And that is why I consume Redmond salt. This is a salt mine from Utah, and they make very, very clean, free from metals salt. What I like especially is they make different various products. This I especially use when I'm doing my water fasting. This is filled with sodium chloride, potassium, and magnesium. Those are the key minerals that you need when it comes to maintaining cellular health. So Redmond salt, amazing for cooking, for fasting, for ketosis. We've got this, I put this on my food. It's nice chili, all organic. And then these are little individual servings when you are adding your electrolytes to your water. So Redmond salt, one of the greatest salt manufacturers in my humble opinion, and that's why I choose Redmond salt. All right, Brendan here, Longevity Expo Wellness podcast with Mr. Sam McDadi. Sam, thanks so much for being here. Excited for this interview.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. The reason why, and some of the audience, the listenership, viewership might be like, why a real estate mogul on this Biohacking Expo podcast? And we're going to delve into that because there's a method for this. And you're not only a real estate mogul in Toronto and Ontario, but you're a very enthusiastic biohacker.
Oh, health to me is wealth. I love biohacking. We'll talk about that later for sure.
Yeah. So why don't you just share first your background, who you are, where you come from, because I know that you came from humble beginnings.
Well, interestingly, my dad did have a successful business, and at age 15, he had to unfortunately declare bankruptcy. So we kind of went from a place of what we thought was perceived affluence to starting from ground zero. So at that moment, I thought, okay, I got to pull up my socks. I got to find a way to work hard, make a living so I can take care of my parents. So my shift was now take care of my family. And so at 15, I went from a place of complacency thinking, oh, I'm going to plug into the family business. Things are really good to like, we're pretty much now, had to have the house was foreclosed, we were renting, and so life changed dramatically. But really, I look back today, and that was probably a blessing in disguise because it made me become the person I am today. Right? Without that, I probably wouldn't have worked so hard and continued and furthered my education, and then got into the real estate journey after that.
What was the catalyst or the tipping point? What was the big aha moment for you at 15? Because a normal 15-year-old might not necessarily have that awareness that you did. So what was the moment?
Well, I think it's just realizing, my dad's worked so hard to get us to this place. We've had a really good life, and now we're basically ground zero, and I've got to be the guy who kind of really, shoulders the heavy lifting and does what needs to be done so we get my family back in a good place. So I think to me, sometimes there's always life lessons, right? And for me, and I didn't know what that was going to look like. I didn't know what that path was going to be, but I knew now my journey's going to be different, right? And I had to do things differently because I think back then I'd have probably been just a little bit more complacent, wouldn't have worked as hard, wouldn't have been driven, wouldn't have had my why, like what's my reason, right? And I think that became clear. And my dad did pass away 25 years ago, almost 25 years. But before he did, I bought my parents a place. So his soul was peaceful, which was very important to me, right? So at the end, my mom now, who's still living, God bless her, she's 88 and she walks and does Tai Chi every day. And so she's a great example for all of us as well. But she's never had to worry about finances, which is to me, really the whole purpose of this.
So you really felt as though that the family at that point, it was more so part of your responsibility.
I did. I was the oldest. I had a brother a year and a half younger, not too much of an age difference, but I felt I wanted to make sure that I took the initiative to get my family in a better place.
So what did you do?
Well, I mean, it was a long road. So
Sure.
initially, I pursued tennis, and I was able to get a tennis scholarship. So I was in New Orleans for about 4.5 years.
So you've got a very athletic background then.
Yeah, I love sports. Yeah, sports to this day, I'm all in for. That's why I've got a little bit. We talked about earlier, but a little bit of an injury, which I got to, kind of nurse through a little bit. But
yeah.
So we did that. Then after that, I decided I'm going to continue on. Did an MBA at the University of South Carolina.
Okay.
Now, MBA was very interesting because at that time we didn't really have any money, and a scholarship for tennis was great, but MBA we didn't have the funds. So my grandmother was helping out. My dad was delivering pizzas to make sure I could get there. So I made a lot of sacrifices, right? So I said I can't let them down. I got to make sure I succeed, and I was all in. But I was also working 20 hours a week as a graduate coordinator while doing my MBA studies. So it was a lot of heavy lifting, right?
Your dad was delivering pizzas.
Yeah.
He was helping fund that.
Yeah.
Your grandmother as well.
Yes.
And you were working 20 hours a week
in addition to my MBA.
While doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it taught me a lot of great life lessons. So after that, an MBA program was difficult. Not so much, I understood I could adapt to, but more every class made it feel like that's the only class you had. You had to read a book every night, right? So plus 20 hours, plus this. So I was like, but it really shaped me to get ready for the real world, right? So now, after I graduate, and at that time, I was debating, I stayed in the U.S. and Canada, I came back, worked in corporate finance for 2 years, but I didn't find my passion. I thought this was the journey I should be on after doing the MBA, but I wasn't happy. I'd get the Sunday night blues, and I said, if I feel like this for 40 years, that's really not a life I want to live. I want to find passion, right? So I shifted, and I said, let me get into real estate. I didn't have money, so it was low cost entry fee, and also person. I thought this would be a good fit.
Why wasn't it? You were making money. Why wasn't it not, or why did you not find your passion with that?
Corporate?
Yeah.
I just, I was a little disillusioned. I mean, for me, and some people love the corporate, and there has to be some people work in the corporate sector. But for me, I felt like, I didn't want to have to be, behind an office, and not talk to people and number guy. Even though that's where I really studied, I realized that wasn't where I wanted to be. And
they do a good selling that idea.
They do for sure. And I actually thought I could, I should climb the corporate ranks quicker and all that. So, you're kind of a guy who wants to get there yesterday.
Right.
And I remember I was working for a company, and they had, it was recessionary times, early 90s. And they said, listen, there's a pay freeze now. We're kind of in an economic slump. It's not the right time. We've got to really manage our finances and affairs. And a year and a half later, listen, things are good now. We're going to be a pay raise of 1.5%. I'm like, 1.5%. Well, I got to pay taxes on that. There's inflation. Okay, this is interesting, right? So I don't know how you get ahead on that, right? They might as well keep that 1.5%, right? So I just realized.
Talk about dangling the carrot.
Right? So I'm like, well, I know if I work hard for myself and I've got that entrepreneur flair, there's no glass ceiling.
Right.
I could achieve whatever I want, and that's kind of where I thought I needed to go after that.
Yeah. Okay, so then you decided to embark on real estate because you said it was low-hanging fruit.
Well, it wasn't low-hanging fruit. It was basically low-cost entry.
Okay, that's what it was, right.
And also, I did like people in houses, so I thought this could be a good fit. I didn't have the resources to, spend a lot of money in a new opportunity. So real estate, and the first year or two was very difficult. And there's times where I thought, I love what I'm doing, but I got to make a living at this because, I got to pay the bill, da-da-da. And so eventually, and interestingly, back then, when I talked to people who were really successful, they weren't so forthcoming with information. So they want to guard it.
Right.
And I'm like, but there's like all these people.
So you're trying to ask questions, and
it's just people weren't given information. So I'm like, okay, I guess I got to figure it out myself through trial and error. And that's why today I'm so mindful when people come up to me. I'll open up the books. Here's how you do it. I said the only thing is there's a price to pay for success. Are you ready to pay for that price? We can give you all the tools in the toolbox, but if you're never paid the price, you're not going to get there, right? And most people, unfortunately, they want to get there, but there's a price they're not ready to.
They're not ready for it. That's right.
So that's
Now,
a big distinction.
Sam, what is this statistic? I don't know it. I'm sure you know it like the back of your hand. But what's the statistic for new real estate agents when they get into that industry, the likeliness of even making their first sale?
Well, I mean, the problem...
I heard it was quite staggering.
It's really stuff people don't realize. But so at the height of the market, which was a few years ago, there was 90,000 realtors on the Toronto Real Estate Board. That's staggering. To put that in perspective, that'd probably be the largest board without a shadow of a doubt in North America. And if we had the metrics to look at the world, that'd probably be the biggest board in the world, right?
90,000 in...
Just the GTA.
Wow.
The Toronto Real Estate Board. So
Okay.
that's kind of insanity. So way oversaturated. But people thought, oh, it's a get-rich-quick scheme. And it's not. You got to work hard, and you've got to pay your dues to have success. And you have to have passion. Don't do it because you're following the money. Do it because you enjoy what you're doing and the money will follow you. That's
Right.
what I think, right? So we all know that, right? I mean, a lot of times people do things for the
Well,
wrong reason.
I think people need a little bit of... Can you say that again? Because that's a nice reminder.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think a lot of times people want to follow the money. And I think if you find your passion, the money will follow you. And for me, I never thought about the money. I mean, listen, of course we want to succeed and I knew I had goals, but I wanted to make sure every client was treated properly and given the proper advice with honesty and integrity. And if it meant to say it's not the right time to transact, that's okay. They remember that. They say, hey, Sam was really honest. He could have said, let's do ABC, but he protected our interests. He knew we weren't in a position to buy today. And others might have said, go ahead and pull the trigger. And then they'd have had a lot of financial duress. We don't want that for people. We want them to enjoy life, enjoy the journey. And we know finances sometimes can really play havoc on people if they're kind of, struggling with that.
Sure.
So that was important for us to understand. And I preach that with our team as well. It's very important.
Why is it that you have, and we don't know this yet, but we're going to talk about it. Why is it that you've integrated health, wellness, longevity so much into your personal life?
So when I was playing competitive tennis, age maybe 17 or 18, and I was playing at a club that's no longer there called Cobblestone. It was in Mississauga. It was an indoor facility, and my brother played there as well. He became a national champion. I played a tournament once, and I came back, and I was cramping everywhere. I just couldn't control the cramping. It went to the stomach, then went here. And I had a friend of mine there, and goes, Sammy, your diet's terrible. And at 17, 18, what do you mean? He goes, Sam, you're eating these Snicker bars. You're having this, this is really unhealthy, right? And this is why you're having, these issues. And I felt so bad. Like I thought I was going to, it was such, because, a lot of time you wake up with the Charlie horse, but this was everywhere. I couldn't get rid of it, right? It was so bad. And so then that's
not normal.
No, it wasn't normal, as you know, right? So then I said, okay, well, I got to, and back then I just didn't understand the concept of food, diet, nutrition.
You're a teenager.
This looks good to me. A chocolate bar is good, whatever. And so then he gave me a book called The Sugar Blues. And I read it top to bottom. It talked about bad sugar was, and this is like 18, call it 17, 18. I can't remember the exact age. And then I started dialing into nutrition. So, and of course, in the last 34 years, the theories and philosophies have changed a lot. But I remember going to university, and I'd have friends over. I had my own place, and I'd make them a protein drink, and they said, "Oh, Sam, let's go drink it." And I was like, "No, let's have." So I was early 20s. I was really trying to become a student of nutrition and understood how important that was to longevity, and I never looked back. So,
right.
And then I really I haven't had sugar for I don't know 20, 30 years. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I only eat organic. I don't really eat out too much because we talked about it earlier. I want to control what kind of oils they're using, and I can't see what they're doing behind the kitchen. Right? There's a few restaurants obviously I know and I like and I trust, but outside of that, I have my own chef who creates all my foods and exactly as I want. I intermittent fast, and I understood that hey, if I'm going to be my best version of myself, without health, I have nothing. I mean, you can have all the tea in China. If you can't enjoy, quality of life, then it's not worth it. It's not worth it, right? So, and when I had an injury a few weeks back, and I was feeling really tight here, and my hams and quads tightened up because I had a bit of a tear in my glute med. I'm like, oh my God, I've never felt this. I don't want to feel like this. This is terrible. I can't enjoy life.
This is the first time that you've kind of
this magnitude. I've rolled an ankle here and there, but this is the first real bad injury where I'm like, this is like really tough for me, and I can't imagine how people go through this day to day because I've always felt like I wake up, life is perfect, right? And all of a sudden I've got this injury, and and my focus is on getting this injury right, and I'm like, I don't care what it takes, I have to get this right? So then it makes you appreciate how important health is, because otherwise, if you don't have health, and we've seen last week I was at 3 funerals, right? So one person 3 days from their retirement, another one was a mother or father, and you just realize life is uncertain, unpredictable. Hey, if you want to be the best version of yourself, your diet and your lifestyle and everything you do is so critical to that.
What about the people that say, oh, come on, Sam, this won't kill you? Try it. I'm sure you've got some healthy, like-minded friends, but people hear that saying all the time. Oh, try this. Have a sip of this. Have a bite of this. It won't kill you. Just live a little. What do you say to that?
Well, I think they're so used to me not doing it now. I think they're over that. They used to say that all the time. I said, no, I'm not. That's not going to my mouth. So my rule of thumb is, and maybe it's if it's not good for me, it's not going to my mouth. It won't enter my mouth.
Yeah.
End of story. And there's no deviation. Like it's not like okay, well I deviate with, let's say I'll have a little more carbs like millet or something, which isn't bad for you, by the way. Let's say if I'm going to try and lean out, then I'm going to get rid of my carbs and stuff like that till kind of time it. But I mean, I will not have anything that's bad for me, right? So, and I'm really clean. And I think all my circle knows that today. And I food prep. So if I'm like here and I got to go a few appointments, then I've already got my meals with me. I have everything I need. So I'm not tempted to have something back. Because if you're hungry, of course you want to eat something, then that's a problem. So if I'm if I have all my food prepared in advance and I'm all good to go, then I'm never thinking about that.
So I'm going to say a message right now for the listenership and the viewership. Pay attention to this. These are golden nuggets. If you are a busy individual and you're on the road or you've got appointments and things like that, it's so much more strategically wise to have your meals in place so that if you are tempted, you just open up your container, whatever, rather than succumbing to those immediately gratifying foods, which most people are doing, the drive-through and things like that.
They are, and honestly, for me, a really good metric is your blood work, right? So I do blood work every 4 months. So I doubled, because I'm so strict with my diet. If I had a new variable, okay, I'm going to add eggs, because for a while I was off eggs. What does that do? And I actually think eggs are great for me now, right? So I'll do, but I'll tinker. I'm my own doctor, right? So I'm not relying on the medical community to tell me what my blood work looks like. I graph it, I chart it. I look from 2-3 years ago, what's my EGFR, what's my kidney function like, what's my liver, how's my A1C. So I'm checking everything, what are my triglyceride, my lipid markers, all the above, right? So I'm marking and I'm tracking, because really a doctor, you'll go and see them, and this is just how they're taught. You're in range, good, out you go, right?
Right.
But what if I'm trending the wrong way? Maybe 3 years ago, now I'm very close to being outside of range, so I need to know where I was.
Yeah.
It's not just a static picture. It's where I was at 3 years ago to where I am today, even 5-10 years ago, to see the trend line. Hopefully it's getting better, or at least staying the same. If you're getting worse, you got to pay attention to that. So I think that's really important.
Now, for someone that's listening, that might sound obsessive, right? That might sound over the top. But your personality, the business that you have built, the empire that you've built with Sam McDadi, that is also completely over the top in contrast to others. So what's the common thread with that? Why have you gone to the next level and the next level with your health? Why are you so almost obsessed with that?
Well, I think I'm very intentional. So anything I want to do that I put my mind to, I want to do it all in. So I'm not doing 50%. I want to be totally dialed in. So if I'm going to be in real estate, I want to be the best real estate person. And I don't believe there's limitations. And that's the same thing with health. Once I understand, how important the health component was, when I understood, luckily, my mentor, who, by the way, he played professional hockey, and he died in his 90s. He was the last man standing on the Stanley Cup team. It showed his diet work. He actually started bringing me salads every day, made salads for me, all that. So
he would bring you salads?
Yeah. So he was like a real big mentor for me, and he really looked. He said, Sam, I believe it. He was a guy, I believe it. I know you're going to do well in this journey. Remember back then I just had myself and my belief system, nothing else. This vision, it was only a vision at that time, right? So I believe, when you do something, do it 100%, right? And for me, if I'm going to have if I'm going to take care of my health, I'm not going to do it 50%. I'm going to do it all in, right? So, and that's my makeup. And I understand it's not for everybody. And I think, but if people can at least do some of these things that will make them feel healthier and better, then it's worth it. For me, my personality is I'm all in for anything I want to do that I want to succeed at.
Right. Let's talk about mentorship a little bit, because you just mentioned your mentor, and we both have a common friend. My first mentor, Dr. Nandor Bajuz. How much of an influence in health was he for you?
Well, I actually got him into that space.
I was wondering, maybe you were the influence.
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
So I used to talk to him a lot about diet and nutrition, because he was a decade younger than me, right? So and he played tennis as well. Our relationship stemmed from a tennis relationship initially. And
I should have known. I apologize.
So we were actually tennis guys. We played a lot, and so that's how it became. But we start talking about diet and all the above, and I said, this is really. So I kind of got him influenced into thinking about that, and then he took it to a really high level. So then he became obviously who he is today, which is a genius in the gut health and all the above. And and a lot of times when I ask him, I look to him for counsel and advice, because he's obviously super knowledgeable guy. But interestingly, in his young days,
you were the influence.
I kind of pivoted him to thinking about
amazing.
Health.
That's
for
amazing,
sure. And working out and all that stuff.
So you know what? Realistically, I'm paying homage to you directly and indirectly, because I am helping people with their gut health and their health and all sorts of modalities, all things health. And so I guess I'm passing on your legacy as well. So thank you for the influence.
It's our
I
pleasure.
had no idea.
It's our pleasure. That's funny.
What do you do as a high performer? What does your day look like, and what are the things that you're doing?
Yeah, so if we go through day to day, so every morning, I get a massage first thing in the morning. My masseur comes over. So I've got a biohacking, I call it my McDadi wellness lab in my house. So I've got a Theralite 360 plus bed. I've got a Morosco cold plunge. I've got a hyperbaric chamber, which is a Viteras 320, which is a 1.30 ATA. I want to get more of a hard shell, which goes to higher level ATA. I've got a class 4 laser. I've got a shock wave, so infrared dry sauna, EM sculpt machine. So
you got one of those too?
Yeah. So we've got a pretty nice, cool little setup there, right? So So
tell me about your experience with the M Sculpt.
Yeah, it's great. So I did it first at a place I was going to. And I'm thinking, I'm spending a lot for these and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
not cheap. Right.
And I understand that because the machine's quite expensive. But but it was great. Like
So were you doing it just for your abs?
Well, but they said you have different. You can do your glutes. You can do this.
But they're like, it's off label, right?
Yeah. But so I got all the different attachments. So
okay.
I do my glutes. So I was rotating doing because you're supposed to do it every 4th day, right? So you can't do back to back days. So if I do my stomach, next day I do my thighs, maybe my butt, my this. And
so do you love it?
It's great, yeah, and it's a great blah, 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 blah. Like so we have people that say this is a crazy workout. You guys start sweating, right? It's pretty intense, right? So it's fun. It's fun.
I met Dr. Jonathan. I think it's Schoaf. Is it Schoaf? Do you know him?
No.
So he works with them. He's got a longevity clinic in Boulder, Colorado, and I was an event, and that was the first time that I saw some of their devices, and I was like, oh my god, like this is next level.
From Czechoslovakia.
It's some type of European. Yeah.
But it's a great machine.
Okay, so you've got that, and then just repeat, please, all of the devices one more time that you have in the Sam McDadi wellness space.
So I've got my Theralite 360 plus red light.
And that's the bed.
It's the bed, yes.
Okay.
So my floor has a few different things, which I'll talk. So there I've got that. I've got my Morosco cold plunge, which Joe Rogan uses, which is because it goes to 0, 1, whatever. So
it's the only one, to my understanding, that it can make ice.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's right. So it's a really good. So I love it. I've got a hyperbaric chamber. It's the Viteras 320, which is, I believe, a 1.30 ATA, which is great just for overall health. But if you want to get to higher levels, which will help people who have maybe conditions, then maybe you got to get 2+, right? So there's different. So I'm looking into getting a higher level one.
Okay.
We're pretty close to doing that. I've got the K laser, class 4 laser, which is
so tell me what that is.
So that's great for any injuries, right? So any injuries, you use that laser. And it's actually made in Italy. It's all Italian parts. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. I got the shock wave, which I use as well too. The infrared dry sauna, and I've got an outdoor sauna in the house too. I know you've got a few here too, so I got to match you on that, right? So
I don't know. I'm feeling pretty demasculated right now.
So and then I just ordered an Endiba machine, which is really cool because that's the sister company that it works on frequency and all for healing and stuff. Rafael Nadal uses it. A lot of athletes use this. So we're always trying to increase and enhance, and whatever we can do to stay young as best we can, right? So,
why is that important to you?
Well, I want to feel vibrant. I want to play tennis when I'm 90 or 100.
So you want to play tennis?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I want to play golf. Because to me, physical activity and sports is such an integral part of my life that if I have to forego that, that'd be like a sad day for me, right? So even now when I've been injured for a few weeks, I can't do what I really want to do. I realize, I got to get well soon because I want to be on the tennis court. I love that sweat and the camaraderie. People in Florida, that's why I bought a place in Florida because I want to get away from the winter and play tennis and develop some really good friends there.
Sure.
So, that's so important for me. Physical well-being and be able to do that. I want to be able to compete like with 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds when I'm 70 or 80, right? That's kind of the goal right now. How that plays out, time will tell, but I'll give it every shot I can.
Now let's talk about identity and purpose. So you clearly identify as a high performer and you identify as an athlete, but that's not all encompassing. Like that's a part of you. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you can't do sports. How do you identify then?
Well, I think to me, I think it's really important for me if we look at, my family structure. So I've got my real family, which is, my mom, my brothers, my siblings, nieces, nephews, and then I've got my work family, right? So, and I think it's very important for me. There's, my work family is 110 people, so I want to make sure they're doing well and they're succeeding. So when I'm training and mentoring my team, it's not only about, real estate. I actually have people come talk about health, about this, because I want them to be better individuals, self-actualize it. So if I see somebody who's successful financially, but he's not taking care of his health, he's overweight, then I don't really define that as true success. You've had success in one arena. I think success is being full circle, well-rounded.
So you've got a little bit of like a moral obligation for different forms of children.
Yeah, I feel like I want to see everybody really do well and thrive and succeed. And I probably put on a pecking order. Okay, of course my team wants to do well,
Sure.
financially, because you want to make sure you pay the bills, all that. But I put health as a real priority with everybody that I'm involved with, and they know that. They know that's a big kind of part of my makeup. So my friend, for example, in Florida, he's a neighbor, Bob McAdoo, who's a former NBA legend, and we become very good friends. We talk every day. I'm always counting, Bobby, you're a diabetic. You got to take care of your health. Because I want to make sure I want him around for another. He's such a good guy. You want him around for another 30 years, right? So people that you care about, you want them to be on this journey with you for as long as possible.
What do you value more, Sam McDadi, the empire that you've created with real estate and all of your staff, or health and wellness?
Oh, well, health and wellness is number one, but I think having some level of success allows me to do the things I can do with health and wellness. So if I wasn't successful, I wouldn't be able to have my McDadi lab and invest, a good chunk on that. So I think they kind of go hand in hand, because that allows me to do what I want to do in the health space. But health number one for sure. When I felt this, I said, what do I need to write to get this go away? So it made me realize without that, it doesn't matter, right? But I do think they're kind of important on both levels, because so even when I succeed on the business side, it allows me to do other things to help others as well too. Not that's important for me too.
The health is that ongoing driver for you.
Health for sure, but business helps me help others too. So that's good too.
What would you share for an entrepreneur or it doesn't matter, but that is going into health and wellness and sort of exploring, maybe share their purpose. Like, why would it be important if someone is like really successful in business, you just said, but they haven't gone in that health arena?
Well, I think the fundamental challenge is when you don't have an issue or perceived issue, you just kind of have your blinders on, right? And so I think if somebody's had an abundance of success, they owe it to themselves to take care of their health, because the minute it turns, and you're getting a lot of warning signals throughout, your body's saying, hey, you're kind of abusing me, you're doing this, and a lot of times they just don't heed that advice, and eventually when they're finally broken, now I'll do whatever it takes to get there, right? And so I think for me, if you're a successful business person, be very mindful of your health, because at the end you can't enjoy, and you can talk to anybody who's a billionaire and this and that, if they don't have quality of health, they'll say, I'd give it all back, right? So just all you have to do is spend a day in the hospital. Go there and just go through, all the different wards, and you realize what's most important, right? You come out kind of a little bit depressed, a little sad. You realize, health is everything, right? Without that, and these people could be in there, they could be worth all the money in the world. It doesn't really matter. They're on their last days, and they're like, I'm leaving this journey. What was it? So a lot of times people start reflecting a lot during their last days, right? What was the meaning of this journey? Why did I do what? Why? People say, well, I didn't spend enough time with my family. Because that's when you reflect, when it's at the end. Because we think we have an infinite life. We don't, right? It's a short life, and it goes quickly, and sometimes quicker than people realize.
Why
right?
do you have that awareness?
Well, I think I saw my dad pass away 25 years ago, and I saw he had an unhealthy lifestyle. He smoked, he drank, he did everything I don't do, right? So I think seeing my dad, he was a loving father, and he really wanted to be a good provider. And as we talked about, his business didn't work out well, and I think he held on to a lot of anger towards the end, because he probably felt like he let us down, which we never felt that, because it's like whatever the journey of life it is, and I think it made me a better person, right? At the end, I didn't see it at the time. Of course, when we went from this to that,
Sure.
It felt like a tough place to be, but at the end, you look back and say that was probably the best for my character building as well too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. It really did set you on that trajectory.
Yeah.
You talked about the warning signs. A lot of people are numb or deaf and blind to those sort of lights on the dashboard. When you're clearly mentoring your employees and your staff and so many people, how do you get them to become aware of that?
It's not always easy, because you have to have that person be at the right frame of mind to take on it and listen to it. Because I remember in university, we talked about earlier, these are people now, I was 19, 20, and I was talking about health. They didn't want to hear about that. They wanted to party. And so I got looking back, said only if they're ready to receive it can you really talk. And if they're not, you're just, you're going to
say that one more time, nice and slow.
Only if they're ready to receive it is it worth discussing, right? Because otherwise you're hitting your head against the wall because they're not ready. So I realized that in university, I looked back and I said, they were 2021, they wanted to party. I get it. Maybe it was a more advanced understanding health was important and trying to become really a student of health and all that. But if they come to me, which sometimes they will, Sam, talk about this, or if I talk to the team and say, Sam, I want to hear more about this, I'll talk quite often in real estate companies and I'll talk about health, how important that is to me. And there'll be emails after, Sam, I want to know more because please, this is very important. This is more important to me than the real estate talk, right? So then they want to know, right? And then they're open to being helped because that means they're probably going through their own journey, right? So I think if people are feeling what they think is good, maybe it's not good, but their perception is good, they probably won't be as receptive to wanting to change, right? Mm-hmm. So, but for me, all I can do is like with the group, if we bring people in, nutritionists or this or that, hopefully you get a few people to change, right? Not everybody will.
It's so inspiring to see that though, because I'm so enthusiastic, right? And you're one of your students, right? Dr. Nandor, he's given me that enthusiasm. And so clearly that enthusiasm was passed on from you. So now I'm seeing it firsthand and it really is inspiring. There's a difference between, or is there a difference between believing in yourself and seeing in yourself? And you believed in yourself, but did you have a vision? Did you see an end in mind that gave you that fuel?
I knew, I believed myself, and I believed, and I remember thinking, not in a cocky way, but I'm as good as anybody. You have to believe that in yourself, but not cockily, but just confidence, right? So you have to have confidence. Just like if you're a fighter, you're going to fight in MMA, and you don't believe in yourself, you shouldn't be out there. You shouldn't go out there, even though you know the guy might be the world champ. You have to believe you could be in it. If not, you should be in the ring, right? So, or in the octagon. So I believe myself. If looking back, did I really perceive we would have this level of success? I didn't know. Like I don't want to say, I was so sure we're going to be at the top of our game, and we're going to be, we'd have sold, $11 billion of real estate and helped 16,000 families. I didn't see that. No, I just thought this is something I'd like to do. And when I started getting momentum, I said, we're onto something pretty good. Let's ramp it up. Now let's go all in. Like I was all in anyway, but we didn't know what all in would look like. And then we realized, okay, we could do something really special here. To the point today we have 7 offices throughout the GTA, and we've got a pretty good brand and stuff. But that was so people see it today. Sam, they didn't see that journey, which was a lot of heavy lifting because and there are people who kind of inherit. And there's nothing with that. Listen, if you're fortunate enough to inherit, great. But you may not have the same understanding and work ethic as somebody starting from ground zero, because that person had to learn. So if somebody walks into a family business that's already highly successful, they might be smart and they can maybe help lift it to the next level.
There's no
they're
drive.
already there, and they haven't had to. So when you're building it from ground zero, it's a pretty different discussion.
Yeah, amazing. How would you like to close this off then? What message would you like to share?
I believe everybody here who's listening, you can achieve whatever you want. Rome, like I said, wasn't built in a day, but if you believe in what you're doing, you have passion in what you're doing, you will succeed and never give up.
Amazing. Well, and I tend to close off conversations for the listeners and the viewers. In life, we're presented with all sorts of different daily choices. So thanks so much for choosing to be with us today. And Sam, thanks so much for choosing to be here with me today. I've learned a lot and very inspired.
It's been a real pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So be sure to hit a like, hit a subscribe to this podcast. Share this with someone. You definitely want to share this with an up-and-coming real estate agent or a professional and established real estate agent, because there's always golden nuggets with this for sure. So thanks so much. And we'll see you on the next episode. Canadians are asking 2 questions right now. How do I feel better and how do I live longer? Your search has led you here. 3 days with speakers who've changed lives, vendors with tools that actually work, and real people asking the same questions that you are. Proudly Canadian, the best minds in health, all in one place. And you're invited. Longevity Wellness Expo, Toronto, October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, the theater at the Great Canadian Casino Resort, Toronto. When it comes to cellular optimization, nitric oxide is one of those miracle molecules that is so integral for the health of our body. And this right here is made by Dr. Nathan Bryan. He's the founder of N101, these best-selling books. In fact, he was a speaker at last year's expo, and he talks about nitric oxide being one of the most crucial miracle molecules. And these products I personally use, This is a serum for my face. These are lozenges that help that I consume before a pre-workout or sometimes when I'm traveling. This is a face wash, and this is his newest product, a toothpaste, fluoride free. All of these products increase our body's ability to utilize and produce our own nitric oxide. When our bodies are inflamed, when we are exposed to free radicals and carcinogens, those just consume all of our body's natural amounts of nitric oxide. So when you supplement with nitric oxide, you're gonna feel a lot better. And me being the bodybuilder that I am, when we are trying to get the pump, we want elevated amounts of nitric oxide. So elevated nitric oxide, very, very healthy for the body, and it increases our body's ability to perform on a cellular level. That's why I use these products here by Dr. Nathan Bryan, N101. Okay, so we are here, Longevity Wellness Podcast, sitting with founder of Rainbow Mushrooms. Very excited to be talking all things fungi, because this is fun. Fungi.
As it should be.
Yeah, and your name is Tanya Papanicolaou. Say
Tanya.
Tanya
Papanicolaou. But you did a great job. Yeah.
I tried. I'll master it eventually. I'm very excited to have this conversation. I am a enthusiast. Well, not nearly as much of an enthusiast as you are with mushrooms. And I want to dive into the benefits and all of the properties that come along with fungi and these superfoods. And there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of enthusiasm towards it. And I think that our audience they are eager. They are health enthusiasts. They are longevity seekers. And we know that there's so many benefits to using mushrooms, but there's a lot of confusion. And I would love to hear it from you, the gal who literally created a product that I was already consuming before I even knew you. How cool is that?
I love that. I really do. Because when we DM'd each other, I was like, oh, this is the kind of person that I just really appreciate, because you just really openly shared. Like I don't talk about products that I'm not personally using or have experience with or can back. And I really appreciate that integrity. And it speaks volumes also just to like what I have really wanted to infuse into Rainbow, which is my standards of quality.
So let's talk about your standards of quality. I've got the first question talking about supplements. Many people are taking supplements, all different kinds. Many of them are taking mushroom supplements. Please help us navigate the muddy waters and enlighten us on what you perceive is a waste and what you perceive is not a waste.
Such a good question. And also, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to have this conversation with you. And, I think in terms of what's a waste, I think there's just a lot of confusion on the market and a lot of companies that are like the big pieces that I see are like form, dose, and quality levels. And in terms of form, this is where some of the dispute is out there about fruiting body mushrooms versus mycelium versus biomass mushroom products. I have searched high and low. Please, somebody in Canada and USA, reach out to me if you are making true fruiting body organic mushroom powders in North America. I want to hear from you. Everyone I've found we have our manufacturer that makes our tinctures, and those are all fruiting body mushrooms aside from agarikon. But by and large in North America, what is being produced here are biomass mushrooms. I can go into some of the details about what that means. But the big dispute in the industry is these extraction processes and these growing processes are very important. And this is basically how the mushroom is grown. There's new laws possibly coming into the US that are going to prevent companies from even using the term mushroom if they don't have mushrooms in them, because they're just mycelium products. And customers deserve, because technically if it's mycelium, there's no mushrooms in that product, and yet they're being called mushroom products.
Right.
So so now there's this whole thing about biomass where, you can kind of, when you're growing a mushroom, when you're kind of cultivating that mushroom, in kind of farms that we would know of, you are starting with a base of grains. And those grains are either from sorghum or oats or rice, maybe some sawdust, or maybe some other kind of a mix in there. And that's getting inoculated with spores. And then the mycelium kind of start to digest that whole block of grain. And then from that, the mushrooms start to pop up. What some places are doing, I suppose, is like they're taking that whole block, which is like the mass, the biggest part of the weight of that is just myceliated grain. The thing with myceliated grain is that it can show as having active beta glucans. However, those active beta glucans are coming from the grains instead of the mushrooms, which means that they don't have the immunomodulatory properties. So that's where the distinction comes in quite, important. When we're creating our products at Rainbow, we're looking at, the thousands and thousands of pieces of literature from science about what effective doses are, and also leaning on the traditional medicines from Asia and herbal medicine around the extraction processes for real mushrooms. They weren't using mycelium products 2,000 years ago. They were using mushrooms. And so we've been really, really adamant about fruiting body real mushroom products. And I'd say that's one of the things that I've just been like singing from the rooftops for the past 8 years. Some companies are also very pro that. And then there's a range of other, so I guess like Rainbow is like a real mushroom company. That's what we do. There's a lot of mushroom, or rather supplement companies that are starting to put doses of mushrooms into their products. And so I think ultimately it's just like, I'm the type of consumer that has a bit of a difficult time trusting. And now on the other side of knowing the manufacturing industry, I have an even more difficult time trusting because we've had crazy experiences, and you really have to be very, very committed to knowing what's in your products and holding everybody accountable. But it's really just asking those questions, like contact forms, like really get to know who you're buying your supplement forms or your supplements from. And that can be as simple as, reaching out, and do they respond in general? Will they send you their third-party lab tests? Are they doing testing for beta glucans? Will they share that with you? Will they share their, are they, is there traceability in their ingredients? Are they willing to transparently disclose all of that information to you? I think that's proper due diligence, especially when you think about like what's on Amazon these days too. I've heard that some of those, like I've heard doctors pretty much say like, do not buy your supplements from Amazon. They are sometimes filling that with like really, really bad materials and fake things. So a little bit of a rant, but I'd say there's a lot of things I would recommend looking at the extraction and the form of mushrooms, and then the dose. Is it a sprinkle of like 100 milligrams, or are you getting somewhere between 1,000 to 3,000 milligrams? In our new product Funky, which I can, I'll tell you about at some point, but I created that to have the highest therapeutic dose of mushrooms on the market, 3,000 milligrams. It's still a daily functional dose, but you're getting into like a therapeutic range where there's going to be real change in the body. And these are not like decisions that you make because you're trying to cut costs. Like it's a more expensive product, but it's like ultimately I want our customers to feel and experience mushrooms and to get those benefits into their bodies and brains.
Okay. I can appreciate that. What would you say is the biggest lie being told then in the mushroom industry?
The biggest lie? That's a tough one. I think, honestly,
or if we want to tame the word, we can say maybe misconception or
I guess, right. I guess that a few things that all mushrooms are created equal. There's a lot of people that are just like disputing this over the internet via their ads. And there's so much I can say about that. But I think to like keep it to the mushroom part of it, it's pretty much what I just mentioned around really that there's so many factors that go into a mushroom product, and the form, the dose, the extraction are going to give a person intel on the quality of that mushroom. So I'd say like not all mushrooms are created equally, and it's important for consumers to ask questions about those three topics: form,
Yeah.
dose, extraction.
Form, dose, extraction. And if a consumer asks those three questions and they get transparent answers, then then they know they're in the right place. And if there's some static or if there's reluctance, then that's a red flag, and maybe it's wise for them to consider alternative sources. How about that?
Exactly.
Okay.
And I would say my choices for those things are fruiting body, a double extraction, and a therapeutic dose.
Fruiting body, double extraction, and therapeutic dose. We're going to put all these in the notes so the
Awesome.
listeners and the viewers can go back and ask these quality questions. Very, very valid. Okay, Tanya, if someone could have just one mushroom into their daily routine and they could see some visible changes, which one would it be?
Oof, that is so difficult. I have two. I'm going to go first with lion's mane because it's really the most popular mushroom, and for a lot of good reasons, and it's very, very well studied. I'd say in 30 days, somebody's going to feel with a dose and consistent use of every day, they're going to feel clearer, brain fog may lift for them. And I'd say memory, recall, and concentration, like to find ways to test that for yourself, because that can be pretty dramatically impacted as well. And if I could give you a second one, I would say
Please
reishi.
do. Okay.
I would say reishi because that's the mushroom that really changed things for me. And I mean, just looking at the state of our world and the ways that our cortisol, our nervous system is impacted, the way we're just inundated with truly, truly like more information than any human has ever been privy to on the history of our planet. I'd say just that bombardment. Reishi is this, it's really known as the queen of medicinal mushrooms. And what I love about, actually, I'm going to save that aside for after I share this about reishi, but it's a longevity mushroom. It is a mushroom that has been like reishi and chaga have been termed these longevity mushrooms for ages and ages. And it supports the body through its adaptogenic properties. So this is like such a beautiful relaxation, just helping the body get into more of this state of like flow and ease, and the ability to like move through life with a little bit more of, just being able to transcend or just like work with our stressors in a slightly different way. And that feels very important in our time, especially with, stress being pretty much the underlying cause of every single chronic disorder and disease. So that's something that we all need to really look at, and not about eliminating stress, but really learning how to navigate it, what our tools are to work through it.
Okay, beautiful. Let me see if I've got another question regarding that. Okay, let's just veer off just for one quick second, please.
Yeah.
Let's talk about stress. Let's talk about the mushrooms having those adaptogenic properties. Just for the layperson, can you please explain what these adaptogens do for individuals who are either high stress or low stress, pertaining to, let's just keep with the conversation of the lion's mane and the Lingxi, also known as
Nice.
Ganoderma lucidum. Did you know that I was going to say that?
I didn't, but I love it. I love a traditional name call out. That's amazing. Lingxi. Yes. So, okay. Reishi is my favorite adaptogen. And one of the defining features of all herbs and mushrooms that are classified as adaptogens, not all mushrooms are adaptogens, but reishi and cordyceps are, one of the most important, facets is that they are completely safe to consume. And that's what these kind of plant and fungal intelligences come into the body, I was saying, without a specific agenda. So they're not forcing the body in any one specific direction. They're adapting based on the needs of the body. And so this is a really kind of, I mean, it's so poetic to me because it's really this like collaborative force where we're inviting the intelligence of nature into our bodies
No
to help
kidding.
us find that regulation, like that regulation point and that homeostasis. So they're doing that for the immune system, and they're also doing that for the nervous system. So when I think about mushrooms, and when you think about, like, if you know anything about the mycelial network and its connective force through most of the biomass of the world, really, and how it connects forests, it's really also doing that in our body. So it's helping to like get these systems talking to each other, integrated, working in a more regulated way, and whatever that means for your body, my body is going to be different. So adaptogens like reishi are coming into the body, and they're working primarily on a stress axis known as the HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenals. And this is helping to regulate how our body is responding to cortisol and what's actually triggering that cortisol response, which is really like the input and then the cascade of things that happen. So there's all of these chemical messengers that are sending signals to the body. And so if we can start to regulate that process, through so many things, like the mushrooms are one part of it, but it's also like, are you taking a deep breath? Can you set an intention before you invite some of this intelligence into your body? Can you treat it like a ritual? What are the other tools that you're inviting into your life? And I think it really like all just compounds so beautifully with all of these kind of pieces. So that's a little bit about adaptogens.
Beautiful. Talk about the infinite wisdom of Mother Nature. And we are at such an exciting time because ancient wisdom and knowledge has always been there. But we're now at a point now where we can utilize technology and science through observational, measurable data and simply prove what sort of Mother Nature was already doing. But now at the same time, we can expand on it and we can use it even more strategically. So I'm all for it. I love it. You were just mentioning the HPA axis, the hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenaline cortex. Can you expand on the relationship of the gut-brain connection and how mushrooms can influence that relationship?
Definitely. So I guess when you're thinking about some specific mushrooms, turkey tail, lion's mane, they're also filled with prebiotic fibers. So those are then also coming into the gut and feeding the bacteria that are in the gut. And that's going to have an influence on who's down there. I think also the consciousness of these organisms that live within us. But essentially, there's so many ways that we can, I suppose, approach this, because technically there's like, I'm sure you kind of know some of these stats too, but like more brain cells in our gut. And there's actually like the level of communication that's stemming from the brain to the gut is more than what's stemming from did I say that right? From the gut to the brain is more than what's stemming from the brain to the gut. So there's so much input, all of our food, anything that we're consuming, all of these mushrooms get, they kind of like, we consume them, they go into our stomach and into our small intestine, and there's like receptors for these mushrooms right there. So we are made to take them. So much of our immune system is also in our gut. And so there's this beautiful connection around just, first of all, being like a true micro superorganism that exists largely from our gut. So these mushrooms are like, their own fungal intelligence is coming in there. There's microbial intelligence that they're feeding. And then they're also just supporting the immune system of the whole body, which is so deeply grounded in our, in our gut. So I'd say it's kind of, there's so many ways that the interaction is kind of happening, and bidirectional communication that's going on from the brain to the gut to the rest of the body. So it's like a symphony. And I don't even, we probably are just beginning to really understand parts of that connection.
I agree. I totally agree. Now, I've done some research on you, and
Okay.
you've said this more than a couple times. You said that mushrooms have changed your life. What was happening to you before people are seeing you now?
Yeah, my gosh, it's been such a journey. So it's like, where do I start the story? When I studied too, I've been studying nutrition and nutraceutical sciences like since I've been 17. I've been really passionate about this, really dedicated my whole life and career to healing, and slowly different modalities came in there. In 2011 is when I was first introduced in like a longevity conference in Toronto to chaga mushroom. I had never heard a human activate me in such an incredible way. And I think it was just like all of this ancient knowledge that was pouring into me that I was like, oh my, nobody's ever told me about this. And like, it just resonated so deeply. So I started to forage then. And then I guess 5 years later in 2016, I was in school becoming a holistic nutritionist, really working through, I mean, so many health challenges at that point. And I had a teacher who was also my practitioner at the time. I went to go see her for an appointment. We used muscle testing to really find the ingredient, the mushroom, the herb that was going to support my body. My body was just like off the charts wanting reishi. So I took I don't even remember if it was 6 grams or 8 grams, 6 or 8 grams for 8 weeks.
Wow.
And that was, we muscle tested the amount that my body wanted and needed. And like, I've also muscle tested before. I had tried many supplements before. This was the first experience I'd ever had with something where I was like hands down, this unequivocally worked. I've never experienced a supplement work on me like I experienced reishi did. And it was everything from, I mean, like across the gamut, like physical improvements to my gut health, to my hormonal health, to my breakouts just that were happening on my face, to the bloating, the gas, the level of just discomfort daily in my digestion was a big challenge at that moment. And then there was this like other kind of mental, emotional, spiritual connection that is really hard to talk about in our culture, but is really deeply understood in places like China, where Lingzi is also like one word has 17 meanings, and it has like a spiritual potency. It has like an emotional quality that it really calms the heart. And that's deeply understood in different cultures, but in this culture we have a hard time wrapping our heads around it. So, and that was like one of the greatest gifts that it gave me, was this like deep resting groundedness in myself, emotionally and spiritually. And that's like a qualitative kind of experience, but really was so profound. So I'd say, and they've just like really continued to be such a big part of my life. Yeah.
Well, and so cool that you were curious enough to explore and see what was available, and cool that you had a teacher that was also open-minded and you explored a heavy therapeutic dose
I did.
of reishi every day. Like, that's so cool, because people wouldn't normally typically experience that, right? So you went
Totally.
all in, and for that amount, oh my goodness, yeah, you must have felt some incredible positive changes. So
Yeah.
I could only imagine. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, under the guidance of working with a practitioner, because at those doses you should be working with somebody, or you can be, but I'd recommend it just because it is a high dose and you don't want to be on that long term.
Yeah. Do you think that mushrooms will be as common knowledge and commonly used, or maybe more, than the vitamin industry right now in the next 5 years, 10 years? Or do you still think that there'll be a little bit more of the fringe minority?
I think they're going to, I don't think it will be fringe minority. I think that's already changed so much in the past 7 years. So there's definitely awareness that is gaining. I think for me, it's like not either this or, vitamins or mushrooms, because the vitamins and the minerals are, gosh, I mean, there's so much depletion in the soil that like that is still needed. in our food, really, and we're not necessarily getting as many nutrients and minerals from our food. So I think there's still a place for all of this. And I see mushrooms as like only kind of a growing knowledge that people have to work with and to invite into their homes and medicine cabinets and bodies.
Yes. Every medicine cabinet should have some mushrooms.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, who shouldn't be taking mushrooms? Are there any candidates that shouldn't?
So if you are taking immunosuppressants for any reason, it's definitely good to check with your doctor because mushrooms will also modulate the immune system. So that can range from sometimes people with thyroid conditions come to us and it'll just be a conversation. Like we can't give that kind of advice, but a lot of the times they're working with naturopaths. And I know a lot of naturopaths that love to recommend certain mushrooms for their thyroid clients. It's just like it's a situation where it's good to just have a support care system around you helping guide that decision. Anybody taking blood thinners can be impacted by chaga. That's it has some vasoconstricting properties. And anybody else? Oh, I suppose mushroom allergies. So it's rare, but it does happen. There's mushroom allergies that some people just they'll get hives or they don't respond too well. So I would say those are the main cases. Okay. Thank you so much, Brendan. I love this conversation and just your energy.
Oh, likewise. I'm thoroughly impressed, but not surprised with your knowledge and your vast knowledge of all things longevity and wellness and biohacking and mushrooms, because it's all integrated. It truly is.
It is.
How would you like to conclude this? What message would you like to share to the audience?
Well, I usually actually end my podcast asking guests to share one prayer or message or intention that they'd like to leave listeners with. So
okay,
I'll do that. I think the message prayer that I have for us right now today is really to just get into our hearts, because that's really where like the most beautiful, expansive life starts to get lived from. And I love meeting people here instead of, in the mind. And it's such a powerful force, a force field that's, 100 times more potent than the brain. And there's so many beautiful ways that we can invite this heart-centered way of living into our lives through connection and these mushrooms and really just our intention. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Always love these conversations so much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I like to conclude almost every conversation when I do a podcast is, in life, we're presented with hundreds of choices every day. And I'd like to thank you and thank the audience, the viewership and the listenership for choosing to be here with us right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So good.
I'd like to introduce you to Rainbow Health Foods. They are a Canadian manufacturer that makes healthy coffee and tinctures. These tinctures were the first product that I tried, and this one is a reishi infused tincture. This one here is cordyceps, and this one is a blend with several different types of mushrooms. Now, what's so amazing about mushrooms and tinctures is these act as adaptogens. They can help with your hormones. They can regulate your hormones. If you've got a little bit too much of a sympathetic dominant state, adaptogens can bring you down. Or if you're kind of feeling a little bit low energy, adaptogens can help bring you up. So these tinctures are really, really nice. You just put them in some water. And then most recently, they came up with these superfood coffees. This one, it's called fungi. Funky, get it? Haha, funny, fungi, mushrooms. This one is a caffeine-free, so there's no caffeine whatsoever, and it is a coffee alternative. What's really nice about this is it's got 3,000 milligrams of lion's mane, cordyceps, and reishi. That's a therapeutic dose of mushrooms. Most mushroom coffee, they don't have a lot of mushrooms in them. So this, you're gonna know that you're gonna be getting a very, very high dose of good quality mushrooms. This one is made with coffee, so you can get your morning Joe fix if you like coffee. Also, it's got 3,000 milligrams of lion's mane and reishi. That is a therapeutic dose of mushrooms. This supports your health, supports your immune system, supports your energy, supports your mood, supports your memory. So if you are looking to improve your brain function and cognition, and you're looking for a healthy biohacking alternative from regular coffee, I would go with rainbow mushrooms. Like I said, I've been using these even before I was introduced to them. Oh, and by the way, if you're a VIP member at the Expo, Longevity Wellness Expo, October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, you're gonna get some products in your VIP swag bag provided by Rainbow Superfoods. So we'll see you at the Expo. Are you a professional in the health and wellness space? Maybe you are a clinic owner, a practitioner, a natural healer, or you're in charge of purchasing products, or you're a distributor. And your business is built all around biohacking and longevity or wellness or even precision health. Friday, October the 2nd, Longevity Wellness Expo is designed specifically for you. This is going to be our professionals and practitioners event. It's a private B2B evening exclusive to the industry before the doors open to the general public. You're going to get a chance to meet clinic owners, founders, innovators, and health leaders from across the country. Additionally, you're going to get a sneak peek at all of the vendors before the crowds arrive. You're going to see the latest in all of the health products and hear 3 business-focused keynote presentations specifically designed for practitioners and wellness entrepreneurs to grow your business. We're excited because this is where partnerships begin and distribution deals can happen. Your ticket also includes full access to the weekend for the whole expo. Friday night runs from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. at the theater at the Great Canadian Toronto. This is your personal invitation to shape the future of health in Canada. And that wraps up another episode of the Longevity Wellness Podcast. Big thank you to Sam McDadi for joining us today for this candid conversation. And it's so inspiring because I firmly believe, and Sam said it, you can come from humble beginnings, but if you value your health and if you value hard work, you can achieve anything. And Sam is proof to that. He came from humble beginnings. He had a high value on health. As you get healthier and healthier and healthier, you start to attract new opportunities. You start to value yourself more. Your self-worth starts to increase. And when that happens, your value goes up. And so you start to make more money. And you start to have more purpose. And when you are living a purposeful life, I firmly believe that you want more out of it and you want to live longer. And so when you want to live longer, you're trying to pursue different things to make you live better, faster, stronger, and of course, longer. So with all that being said, thank you to Sam McDadi for showcasing that and being proof in the pudding, in the healthy pudding. Also, thank you to our sponsors. This podcast would not be possible without you. And just know that before these sponsors became sponsors, I was personally using these products and I was vetting them and making sure that I aligned with them. And so when you are looking for this type of longevity and biohacking and wellness products, just know that I've been using them and I personally vetted them, and now you can use them too. Also, the big expo is coming up, October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, Longevity Wellness Expo. We're in our 4th year, Canada's largest, biggest biohacking and longevity expo of its kind. All you have to do is get yourself a ticket, www.longevityWellnessExpo.ca. And all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hit a like, hit a share, hit a subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode.